Hello everybody and welcome back to the Traxion channel for another brand new video. Now, have you always wondered what a Formula 1 car would be like if it had front wheel drive? Yes, me too. And today I'm going to answer that question for you because I'm going to be playing some Assetto Corsa, the original Assetto Corsa, and Dan, who is editing this video, hi Dan, has very kindly sorted me out with some modifications, which basically means that I have a front wheel drive Formula 1 car to test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little go in the normal car, see how it feels, and then I'm going to jump in the same car, everything exactly the same, except the power will be going to the front wheels, and see what difference it actually makes, because I really don't know what the answer is going to be, and I'm very curious. So let's find out. So I have jumped in the 2017 Ferrari Formula 1 car, which is available on Assetto Corsa through the Ferrari Dream Pack, or 70th, actually no, it's the Ferrari 70th Anniversary Edition, or something like that. I can never remember the pack names, but either way, I'm going to go out there, do a few laps with this car, which is a normal Formula 1 car, and see what kind of lap time I'm going to do around Mugello. So let's get on with this. Almost stalled out the pit lane. Okay, so first lap out the pit, it's going to try and get some temperature into these tyres. Everything feels very Formula 1 car-y. What you'd expect, power in the rear wheels. The front wheels have got nothing to do other than steer the car. Everything's been designed this way, and immediately, this is the first time I've properly driven it, and everything's stuck to the road and feels exactly like you would expect. It functions like a car, which is lovely. Okay, coming to the end of the first flying lap now. It feels really nice around Mugello. I've not really driven a Formula 1 car in Mugello properly, but this is just fantastic as an experience. And this is all base game Assetto Corsa content. The front wheel drive Formula 1 car definitely isn't, but this is. So we're going to cross the line. The very first lap's going to be something like a 125. I should probably use DRS, shouldn't I? I reckon we'll get that down closer to a 120. Okay, and round the last corner. So this lap's been a little bit better. I've saved up a little bit of energy. Still not perfect, forgot about DRS once again, but just to give you a ballpark figure, it's going to be in the 122, so I reckon with a bit more practice and with optimal battery usage, you'd probably get down to about a 1 minute 20. So that's with the normal Ferrari Formula 1 car. How about now, if we switch the drivetrain around and make it front wheel drive? Here we have our Ferrari SF70H. Nice logo there. Okay, so we still have our generic default setup. We're going to click drive. I've got my cold tyres. It's going to be very easy to heat the fronts this time. Going to be a bit more difficult to heat the rears, I think. But yeah, let's see what happens. So, select first gear. If I'm going to just give it a boot full, okay? Okay, a lot of wheel spin is the first thing. Car still turns into the last corner, okay? But as soon as I touch that throttle pedal, you can see the understeer. Right, let's give this a go. Now, 1 minute 22.8 was the lap time in the rear wheel drive one after maybe 3 or 4 push laps. Forgot to open my DRS again. We're going to brake at the same point, turn in. Now, when you're not on throttle, everything's very similar. As soon as you touch the throttle, however, you just get huge amounts of understeer, which is exactly what you might expect. Oof, you lose total control. It's fine once you actually get going and you're straightened up, but as soon as you're asking the wheels to do 2 things at once, you really struggle. So it's still 6th gear through this section. Ooh, a bit of understeer through there. I'm going to have to lift through here, I think. Oh, on the curbs. It's the quick direction changes you're really going to struggle with, I think. Well, honestly, though, my first proper impression, it's not actually that bad. Like, it's manageable if you have a soft right foot. If you're someone who just plants the throttle everywhere, you're going to have a heck of a lot of problems. Look at my, if you look down the bottom left, you see my tyre temperatures and stuff, and look at the front left. It's orange, and I shouldn't have been looking at the front left, I should have been looking in front of me. What are the rear tyres doing right now? All they're doing really is stabilising the car at the rear end. They're not really doing much work at all. I'm being pulled along by my front legs. Nice exit out of there. There's no point of me using the energy recovery system because all it's going to do is spin the tyres when I don't want them to. What I might do is make that manual actually so I can choose when it happens and when it doesn't. So much understeer through this last sector. It's actually going to be slower than our first lap, and I think that's because, again, looking at the tyres, it's all red on the fronts. I think there's a couple of changes I need to make here, so I'm going to go back to the garage and see what can be done. I'm going to basically put harder tyres on because the heating is a problem you can't really stop. So the harder the tyres are, the more they'll be able to cope with that. I'm not going to change the fuel or anything, obviously, because we want to keep it fair. And I've got a button, I was about to say battery button for the MGUH mode, so I can make that manual hopefully, and that will allow me to at least control the wheel spin and try and get this thing closer to the 122. Okay, lining up for our second attempt with the front wheel drive F1 car. Now we've got the tyres a bit cooler because we've just started the session, so we're going to get our best lap in right at the start basically. We'll use some more of that battery system on the run up to the first corner. Nice and gentle on the exit. Oh, running wide. That's not going to help, and we just cannot pull ourselves out of those situations like we normally would be able to with the power. Keep it on the road. Okay, going to use a bit more MGUK power when we're on a straight, because obviously we cannot load the car up with too much power out of the corners. As soon as we straighten up, we'll use it. Okay, go. Fully on the power. DRS open. I don't know which is open, yellow or green. No idea. That's going to be a 129.4. Can we get below the 129 barrier? Probably not now with the tyres. Actually, do you know the hard compound? It's keeping them a bit cooler. The fronts are just staying green. Putting this thing on hard tyres was the best decision I could have made. Right, we're going to get brake underneath the 1 minute 29 mark. Do you know, we're only 6 seconds slower. That's not actually terrible. What I'm going to do now is conduct a live science experiment. So, I'm going to try and explain why front wheel drive works the way it does when you're driving a Formula 1 car, whilst also driving around Mugello in a Formula 1 car, and it'll all become very clear. So, essentially what this is doing right now is by making the car front wheel drive, I'm having to steer the car and accelerate with the front wheels. So the front wheels are doing two things at once, right? Usually they just steer the car, the rear wheel drives do the driving. This time you're getting forward forces through the front wheels and lateral forces through the front wheels at the same time. So there's only so much the tyre can cope with at one time. So basically it's a compromise, you know, if it spends more time focusing on forward movement, you're going to get less lateral grip, and if you have more lateral grip, you're going to get less longitudinal, I think that's the word. You're going to get less grip going that way anyway. And what I'm demonstrating by doing this is, you're probably hearing, I'm fumbling all my words, my lap time's 2 seconds off the pace. It's hard to do two things at once, right? So think of me as the front tyres. If I just focus and do the driving, I'm sure it'll be fine. If I just stop and focus on speaking and doing my science lesson, well, it probably still wouldn't be fine, but it would be better than whatever rubbish I'm talking right now. And there's a perfect demonstration. It's much harder to do two things at once, as opposed to focusing on one. I couldn't even conclude that section nicely. So what I've learned is I struggle to provide a science lesson and drive a Formula 1 car at the same time, and in a similar sense, the Formula 1 car, when you make it front wheel drive, the front wheels struggle to cope with the steering and the acceleration at the same time as well. However, when you're only doing one of them, it's still absolutely fine. So when you're on the straight, you've got no problems. The car will go just as quickly, and when you're braking for a corner and turning in, as long as you're not trying to also accelerate, the car handles fine and it feels the same, which is great. So what I now want to find out is, how will I cope in a race against the AI if every car in the race is also a front wheel drive Ferrari? So let's find out. So for this race, I'm going to be starting at the back of the grid. I do have my hard tyres on, just to make sure the tyres last the race, but other than that, I've left everything on default. I'm going to see if the AI can cope with the front wheel drive. I don't know if they drive as if they've got traction control, or whether they take these things into account, but we're going to find out what it's like. So yeah, let's see how much progress we can make through the field in 3 laps. Okay, the race start is going to be very interesting, because I'm going to have to try and keep the revs down, avoid wheel spin. Here we go. Actually, not a bad start at all, although I can't keep my foot in it. Got AI cars in the way. We'll try and go down the outside while they're all avoiding each other in their wheel spin. Try and make as much headway as I can early on. Okay, heading into turn 1. I've made quite a bit of progress. Just got to try and really be careful with the throttle pedal. Bit of contact at the rear, actually. I've got a tiny bit of rear wing damage. I was so busy focusing on avoiding wheel spin that I forgot that I actually had to, you know, not block the people behind me. But it's been an okay start. The AI seem very smooth with the front wheel drive. They seem to be able to cope with it better than I can, which is probably to do with the way they're programmed. Through these fast bits though, we can carry the speed with the downforce. It's going to be crucial not to make any big mistakes, because if I go off the road into the gravel, it takes so much longer to recover because you've got so much wheel spin at low range. So it's easy to be quick through the fast bits. It's the slow bits that are the problem, because that's when you need the most traction on acceleration. Keep it together. Now we're going to have DRS in this straight, I think. Here we go. Huge speed advantage over the AI on the straight. Feels a bit like I'm cheating, but I think we're into the top half of the field now. Keep an inside line. Don't want to turn and brake at the same time, because then the tyres you're asking just way too much of them. Ooh. I wasn't even trying to make a move there, it kind of turned into one. Sneak down the inside of this one into here. Well, they're actually late on the brakes. I just don't have that faith, because if I understeer and go off, I've had it, so I just need to be extra cautious. Oh, understeer, bit of contact, bit of front wing damage. Just about survived, but I might struggle for this last lap now. I don't think I'm going to make too much more progress. Might be a case of hanging on. I'm going to use some of that extra energy I've saved up. Forgot about DRS, of course I did. Huge speed advantage over the AI in this bit. We're up into 8th position, so now we're in 6th, I believe. Okay, we're going to cross the line, race is over, and it was a 6th position finish in the end. Not bad at all. Well, hopefully that has answered the questions you have about making a Formula 1 car front-wheel drive. It's a lot of fun, I've got to say. You've got to completely adapt your driving style. It's almost as if you're driving an 800 horsepower Vauxhall Corsa or something. Like, you've really got to be nice and gentle on the throttle. It's a really good challenge, to be honest. So, yeah, and it kind of went as I expected. I thought there would be lots of understeer. The handling was pretty nice when you weren't on the throttle, which was better than I expected, but generally speaking, it was just a fun thing to try, and I'm really glad I tried it. The AI could cope with it a lot better than I could, though. If you enjoyed that weird and wonderful experiment, make sure you leave us a like, and of course subscribe to the Traxion channel if you want to see more strange content like this, or more normal content, because we have both, as always. But yes, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.